Hello guys, welcome to another driving test video. This took place at Bromley Test Center on the 4th of February 2022. Start time was 1:35 p.m. in the afternoon. We went, we drove, and we conquered. This test was a pass with 0 driving fault. Definitely now the test to beat for 2022. So let's watch and see how it's gone through the driving test and see if we can pick out a few things to learn from. Remember again, as you drive out and into the test center, drive with caution, be careful, be aware of your surroundings, watch the Lido delivery entrance, the Lido car park entrance, and cars approaching through the bend. Good space there away from the cyclist as he approaches the junction. Good planning as he approached the meeting traffic situation ahead, making sure that he's giving the pedestrian on the left enough space when he was passing. Notice how he's keeping the flow of traffic moving. With no hesitation at this roundabout, he took the first opportunity and went on. That is not to say though that if you didn't take that chance on your test, that would have been a minor fault. No, it just shows a confident driver and he knows what he's doing. Similarly to a previous driving test I posted at Mitcham Driving Test Center, where the driver had one fault through the whole of the test, you notice that there is one similarity between the two of them when it comes to meeting traffic. They are planning very well ahead, slowing down appropriately at the right time, and that helps them keep the flow of traffic moving. They're assessing the space properly and gently moving through the space when it is safe to do so. And when it is not, they wait. And when a chance comes, they take it immediately again. Remember, when you're moving off from a parked position, do your full observation. Don't forget your blind spot check, especially just before you move off. Here is a good example of how not to go through a mini roundabout. Make attempts to go around the paint. Don't just drive over it. Unless, of course, if your vehicle is too big to go fully around, then yes, it's okay to slightly go over it. But don't just drive over it without making any attempt to avoid the flow marking. Remember, when you're pulling up on the left on main roads with narrow spaces like this, check your mirrors to make sure that you're not sitting too far into the road and too far away from the pavement. So don't forget guys, it does take a lot of time to compile these videos together, and if you are enjoying the video and you find value in these videos and you find yourself coming back for more, please remember to like the video, share, and most importantly, remember, if you're not yet subscribed to the channel and you're watching this video and find yourself coming for more, please click the subscribe button. That would really help the channel, and it would help me as well for the time. So let's continue watching. Now watch how it slows down as it turns left into these roads to give you enough time to see oncoming vehicles and plan for them, and that did help him. So remember that when you're turning into roads with cars parked close to the junctions, this would normally restrict your view from ahead. So take caution, drive carefully, but don't hesitate too much either. Unless of course if it's for a good reason, like this situation here. Notice the speed he was driving at when he went over the first speed hump, and this is normally what I would advise, between 10 and 15 miles an hour. But then when you realize that the speed hump is much higher, then you should reduce your speed accordingly. So here is going over it about 12 miles an hour, but then he notices it was quite high. And then watch what happens through the next couple of speed humps. The speed went way below 10 miles, just about 5 and 6, and then he picks up the speed again and continues. And this is what I call adapting to the situation around you. Don't just drive based on one thing you've been told. You've got to be able to adapt. Change your driving style to match what you're faced with. Remember that the height and width of speed humps do vary from one road to another. For example, speed humps around schools would be much higher than that in any other road, and this is to force drivers to slow down a lot more as they approach school areas. So these are what you need to put into consideration as you plan your speed on approaching speed humps. So at this point, the learner was being briefed and prepared for an emergency brake or a controlled stop. Now remember that after you stop, secure the car, and when it's time to move off, remember to do your full round check again. And again, don't forget to check your blind spot. As you would have noticed, the maximum speed limit for this road is 30, but remember it says the maximum. This does not mean compulsory. So notice the driver's speed before this point was below 20, and even after this point still is not gone beyond 22. So this is to say to you that you should only drive according to what is safe for the road you're on. Don't see speed signs and jump to get to it, because it might not actually be safe for the road. It's only saying if it's actually in any case where it was safe, then you shouldn't be going past 30. It does not mean you should be doing 30. Big up to you though if you've gone through a width restriction on your test and you've done it without failing or scratching the car, because these can be very scary. But I always say drive through it at about 0 to 1 miles an hour, which is what the learner did in this case. And remember, try and slow down enough before you even get to it so that you have enough time to position yourself well enough and straighten your steering wheels. So well done to the learner again. He scratched that without any faults at all. Don't forget, this is not the time to show your Lewis Hamilton skills. Even if you can go through it confidently, still slow down, because the examiner knows you're a learner, and this would mean that their reaction might not be as optimistic as yours. If you were driving over 20 miles an hour before you get to this sign here, or before you get to this bend, remember that from this point, the maximum speed limit as you drive through the bend is 20. So make sure you reduce your speed and get within that limit before you get to that sign. And as you pass the bend, remember that the maximum speed limit continues to be 30, because that 20 was just briefly for the bend. Remember that as much as an examiner can ask you to pull up on the left in a safe place, which means you find a safe place to pull up, they can also ask you to pull up on the left in a chosen place of theirs. So for example, they could say, I'd like you to pull up on the left after the white car ahead, or just right at the driveway. So these are things you've got to bear in mind. Don't mix them up. If they tell you to pull up in an appropriate place, then make sure you find a safe place to pull up. If you are not sure if you can pull up in front of a driveway or so, then just ask. But don't ask if you can pull up on a double red line or double yellow line, because it's not safe. So don't just pull up there, unless of course you are specifically instructed to pull up there. So at this point, they are coming into the car park to do a bay parking maneuver. And just as expected, the learner completes the parking in just about 1 minute. And if you click on the link above, you would see another learner driver carrying out the same parking maneuver in this same car park, who took about 5 minutes to complete the parking. I was very pleased with the performance here because this was the parking that we spent the last few minutes doing just before the test. So he cracked it. So I just couldn't let this go without talking about this. Now, this is one of the new confusing rules that just came in: to wait and give way to pedestrians waiting to cross at junction. But at this point, it is clearly not going to be safe to stop to give way to these pedestrians because it is not safe behind. There were vehicles behind, and this is what you've got to bear in mind. Don't just stop for pedestrians because you need to. Remember, check and make sure it is safe. And if you're still confused about this, then maybe I should remind you that he had 0 faults for this driving test. But remember though, your case might be different, so look around and plan accordingly. So as he approached the first exit ahead, he could have kept to the left as he went through the bend, but he didn't. Now he took his time and later came back to the left lane safely without creating any situation behind or around him. But bear in mind though, if you treat this way, if the road is busier there could be another car who would have gone into your left lane at that point, making it difficult for you to get back into the left. So plan ahead and change lane in good time. And at this point, they are now coming to the end of the test. And frankly speaking, there is nothing really we could have picked from this test video as a fault. So I would say yes, I agree and delighted that this test was zero fault. So let's learn from this. And as you can see here again, sorry to cut, pedestrians were standing right there, but again, it was not safe to just stop and give way to those pedestrians. So here is another scenario of that case. So please don't confuse yourself with that new rules. Still remember the normal thing you've been taught. If you're going to be stopping to give way or for any other reasons, make sure it's safe. Check your mirrors and do it safely. But hey, this is London. You can't stop at every junction because a pedestrian is waiting there. It would be unrealistic for the kind of town or city we're driving in. So yeah, back to what I was saying. So it was a very good test and well deserved one as well. And remember, you could do the same, but don't forget, no, it's not just about zero fault. It's just about relaxing and most importantly, just passing your test and getting through this, tireless episode of your life, if that makes a right sense to say. But anyways, guys, I hope that you've enjoyed this episode and I hope that you learned one or two things from this driver. So yeah, don't forget, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please remember it does take time to put this together. So please, I would appreciate a like, comment below if you've got any questions or any suggestions. And remember, please, if you're watching this video and you have not subscribed yet, please click the subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. It would help the channel a lot and it would help me as well for the time that I put into it. So thank you and have a good day. Best of luck with your test.